A lot of moviegoers alive now cannot remember a time when Star Wars wasn't a major film franchise. But back in 1977, the first of the George Lucas space epics was a revelation with special effects that had never been seen before and a timeless tale of good conquering evil set in a galaxy far, far away. The way the characters looked, those strange imaginative creatures, as well as the dress of the human players, played a big part in immersing us in the fantasy world Lucas envisioned. And it is that artistry, the power of costume, that inspired a Denver Art Museum exhibition, giving us a glimpse behind the scenes of the creative process. Decades in the making, the fantastical look of a galaxy far, far away existed only in film for most fans until the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art teamed up with the Smithsonian Institution Traveling Exhibition Service.
This is the Emperor. Custom-made mannequin hands here showing him about to shoot lasers out of there.
Together with a team from the Denver Art Museum, they set out to build an impressive behind-the-scenes experience, taking visitors up close to the original costumes of the first 6 Star Wars films and into the creative process behind them.
We have obviously specially made crates for each one of these over 70 costumes on mannequins.
Painstaking care was taken with the transport, the setup, and the perfecting of every detail. A labor of love for these professionals who are also admitted fans.
I went to Skywalker Ranch, which is where the archives from Star Wars, so all the props, costumes, drawings, concept art, that's where it's all housed. We went through folders and folders, all the costumes that were there, as well as boxes that hadn't been opened before. We discovered things like the Emperor's fingernails and other little kind of goodies that we ended up incorporating throughout the exhibition.
I'm a lifelong fan, so probably the most challenging thing on this show was keeping my geek in check and still do my job. That has been a challenge because each step in the process has been really enjoyable, and it's fun to put together.
For everyone who worked on the exhibition, there was a reawakening of the adventure and awe they felt when they first saw Star Wars, and excitement at being able to share it.
As we sort of look through the influence on what goes into some of these costumes, we do see a lot of sort of cultural and or historical influences, not only from the United States, but world culture and history.
We really were on a kind of mission to find additional objects that help tell the story of the creative process of creating costumes. So we looked through a lot of folders that had concept art from the very, very beginning, from the early 1970s.
For the first 3 films, Lucas worked with artists and costume designers on a stark post-apocalyptic world depicting life after the fall of the Empire. Years later, when he went back to tell the beginning of the story, he wanted a lavish look and turned to a woman who had costumed opera.
George kind of struck gold when he found costume designer Tricia Bigger for episodes 1, 2, and 3. He was going into a Star Wars universe for him and his storytelling, that it was before the, if you would call it the fall, you know, before it's like they're on the run and it's the Rebel Alliance and everything's a ragtag moment. This is before that, so this is where everything is, you know, at the height of the society, at the height of their, you know, community. So the costuming was going to be very high detailed.
Many of the fabrics the design team used had to be handcrafted to achieve a certain look, but they took their inspiration from various places. The wedding dress of Padme Amidala, for instance, began as an antique lace bedspread found in a thrift shop and was cut up and refashioned with hundreds of yards of braid. More than just movie props, the costumes are opulent and inventive.
We found this amazing costume that some fans might know called the Peacock and Brown gown, and Natalie Portman, who played Padme Amidala, she was to wear this for episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And it's this gorgeous gown that we found all these materials related to it, where they were testing embroidery and different thicknesses of thread and colors. So it didn't actually make it to screen. So we thought it was a great opportunity for us to use as a case study of how a costume is created.
The gowns of the royalty, the distinctive garb of the senators and other officials, the iconic look of the military figures. At each turn, there's another discovery.
A lot of moving parts, and I always kind of think about it as a big puzzle, and you come into it with all these pieces and a space. My job was to take all the ideas from the whole team and turn that into an experience in a physical space.
Interspersed through those gallery spaces is those sort of workshops. And so basically going into the idea room, what are these things supposed to look like? Going into the costume prep room, what do these things look like in stages? And so that's, I think, going to be really interesting for visitors who are sort of keen to maybe creating their own costumes or keen to fashion, to really get a sense of what those process-orientated activities look like.
Or simply to take in the life-size spectacle of it all. To paraphrase the Jedi Master, feel the Force, you will. The Denver Art Museum's Star Wars exhibition can be seen through April 2nd at the museum's Hamilton building. You'll want to reserve your viewing time, and you can do that online at denverartmuseum.org/exhibitions/Star Wars.